Hello guys, in this video we will learn how to dispatch our events and then create observers to observe these events and then intercept them with some functionality. So basically we created this page, we created a module to display this page, and to display this page we just create a controller, and then in the controller we just render a page and then set dispatch event example. This is what you see here and also what you see in here in the meta title, and we have the configuration file and the routes and then module and registration file for the module itself. So how do we dispatch our own event, and then we will just create an observer for it to observe and made more functionality. So first of all we go to the controller, and I'm going to dispatch an event from the controller, and I will pass in a page in the event. So to do this we will just have another parameter in the constructor. We will have the manager event, event manager. So manager interface, and this should be for the event manager interface, event manager, and then we just initialize it now. And since we initialize it, then here before the return statement we will just say this event manager dispatch. I'm going to name the event as dispatch event example, and then we will pass a object, we call it page, and then it will be the page itself. Now this is where when we create observer we will intercept this event. So how do we create an event? To create an event we will just create an etc events.xml, and then we will just create an event. So the event name will be the event we dispatched, so it should be this one. So we just copy it, paste it here, and then the name we will say just content example, and we will create an observer. We don't have it yet, but we will create it later, but we will give it a name now. So training dispatch event example, that's the module, and then will be inside observer and then content example. Now we have set the event but we don't have the observer yet. So to create the observer we will just create observer folder, and inside it will be content example file, which is a PHP, and then we just declare namespace. Now we name it as a content example and we'll implement observer interface. We already went through this in the previous video. Now we need to implement the execute method, and in the execute method we will need to do some functionality in it, or observing some of the events and then trigger functionality. So to get the page we say observer get data page. So this page we are getting is exactly what we dispatched in the event. So dispatch page, and this is the object, and we have it here. Now we have this, and then we can do further functionality to it. To do this I will need to add a block inside a content container, and then to render some text underneath the dispatch. So to do this we will just create a block. So I'll create a block and I call it just example for simplicity, and then so we will name it as example, and it will implement the template from here. That extends, so extends the template, and then I will just override the toHTML method, and I will say here return this is example from dispatch event tutorial. So this is the text I'm going to render underneath the dispatch event example. So to do this we have this. Now I'll just copy it, and in the page I will say page get layout add block. Now I will just need to go to the controller and have this, copy it just for code hinting. This will be page, and the get layout block here we will give the block, and then we give it a name, and then we set the parent where this block will be added, and so we need to specify a parent for it. So to do this we will have this block, and then we give it here as class, then just import it. Now we will give it a name as a example content, and then the parent will be content. So this is a container. Now if we flush cache, so first of all we dispatch our event here from the event manager interface, and then we dispatch the event. We pass in the objects we want, so we passed in the page, and then we created a configuration file. The configuration file will listen to this event, that is we dispatched from the controller, and then we give it a name. We created an observer, we give it a name, and then specify an instance. This instance is already created inside training, dispatch event example, observer, content example. And this content example, it just fetch the page from the event from the observer, and then we call the get layout and then add a block. So we are injecting a block content inside this page. So doing this, we will render whatever comes from the to_HTML method here, and then it will be rendered inside this page underneath the dispatch event example within the content container. So we just flush cache flush layout and config. Now if we refresh, now we have in this error because this, right, so the error saying in the controller we used to have one argument in the constructor, but now we have passed in two, and then the generated code already created for this. So if we go to the app etc app generated code training, and now the interceptor still have one constructor. So what we need to do is we just need to delete this and run it again, and here we go. We successfully managed to inject this inside the content and to display it on the page, and here it is. And this is the end of the video. Please like and subscribe if you like it, and I see you next time.